Welcome to the podcast. We do recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
What's going on this morning, everybody? Episode 34 has officially began. You're listening to We Do Recover. I'm your host of this thing, Jared Miller. Today we have in the studio your co-host, our medical expert, Dr. Terry Sellers.
Good morning, everybody. Good to be here.
We also have in the studio the producer that makes this thing possible, the man, the myth, the legend, Sean Denovan.
It's allergies, not pink eye. Stop making fun of me.
We'll get to that in his new and good.
Pink eye.
And we have your featured guest. She is an amazing woman. She's one of the co-founders of the Sobriety Foundation, Susan Peterson.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be on your podcast. I listen to it every week, and you guys do such a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. We're excited. We're excited to get Susan on here and talk about what she's got going on with the Sobriety Foundation. Before that, though, episode 34, part 1 is brought to you by Steps Recovery Centers, where addiction ends and healing begins. If you or a loved one need help, please reach out. Give them a call, 801-800-8142. So, new and goods. Should we start with Sean? Because I feel like he totally set us up for that. With the
Yeah.
So Sean, new and good. I came in this morning and it looked like you'd been crying all night long. What's going on, buddy?
I got pink eye, man. The grandkids came over either the grandkids last weekend or I went to Sunglass Hut and tried on sunglasses, and I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, man.
So instead of getting coronavirus, I got pink eye.
Ooh, you might well have gotten it from Sunglass Hut. That's
Shame
a
on
possibility.
me. I know.
I think I'm a little more afraid of pink eye than I am the COVID. Is that bad? I mean, seeing
yes.
it on Sean Denovan,
I know.
looks...
Hey, what? You going to say what? I should be up in the tower ringing the bell or something?
No, that's a case of pink eye for sure.
I am not an animal. I am a man.
Sean Denovan just did a little sketch for it. That was nice. A little scene out of a movie.
Thank you.
I like
Which
it.
movie was it?
I can't remember.
Quasimodo.
Count of Monte Cristo.
No, that was Elephant Man.
Oh yeah.
We were all wrong.
It was Elephant Man. You're right. By the way, you're very contagious, that disease.
Well, I've been wiping everything.
So contagious that I have pink shirt.
Oh,
I have pink shirt.
It's
waka
spread.
waka.
Sorry.
I love this scene. All right, Doc Sellers, you're up next. What's new and good? in your
What
world?
is new and good? Oh, I'm like a deer in the headlights all of a sudden. I can't think of anything new and good. I can't believe I don't have anything. I got nothing. Like, my life is just flowing along. Everything's perfect, so got nothing. No, I don't really have anything.
Have you been working on that sponsorship that I've been telling you that we need to address?
I don't know if you know this or not, but our podcast is sponsored by Steps Recovery Center.
That's right.
Let me show you who it's not sponsored by.
That's Dr. Sellers keeps trying to bring these Dr. Peppers on and give them free spotlights.
I don't think you guys can totally see this, but I drink a lot of Dr. Pepper, a fair amount in the mornings.
If we got you like a Mr. Pibb or a Dr. Thunder, would that be a...
No, I would drink that.
well.
For sure, Mr. Pibb, I would. I have a tie to Dr. Pepper, though, actually. So my mother's uncle was the chairman of the board and CEO of the Dr. Pepper Corporation.
Oh, really?
Growing up.
That's
And
awesome.
he was a man I didn't really know. Like, it actually was my mother's great uncle, but I never met him, but every Christmas the Dr. Pepper truck would pull up in front of our house and offload 5 pallets of Dr. Pepper, and that was our Christmas present from my mother's great uncle. And so I kind of grew up being forced to do Dr. Pepper, so that's it.
That's why you give them a free sponsorship on here, and I had to cross out the logo.
Go Dr. Oh, yeah, you can't
Now
see.
you
You may
can't
not be
tell.
able to see this on the camera, but Jared has taken the Dr. Pepper logo and crossed it out because we are not sponsored by Dr. Pepper.
That's right. Sponsorship opportunity available. Glad we could have some fun with that this morning.
That was my new and good, I guess. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Got me through it.
Susan Peterson, what's new and good in your world? What's going on with you?
Oh, my goodness. We're going down this weekend to Mesa. All my kids and grandkids will finally get to be together after this big COVID pandemic that we've been going through. So I'm really excited about that. That's my new and good.
You're a little late for Mesa. I went to Scottsdale 2 weeks ago, and it was basically 70s and 80s the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
I think this next week is 90s and
it's
100s.
90s. Yeah. My daughter's already told us to be ready for that.
I checked the forecast, and I have a brother that lives in Mesa.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's hot in Mesa.
Yes.
So it looks like 99, 97. Yeah, it's going to be hot.
Yeah,
Get ready for
I
some
brought my
heat.
sunscreen. Yeah. Definitely.
That sounds good though. A little sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that.
Warmth.
Yeah. After living in Provo and yeah, I'm ready for the heat.
I was-
Bring it on.
I was down here last week, and it snowed.
Oh my gosh.
So it
St.
would
George.
be lovely to be in Mesa and have. I'd love 99 degrees. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we've got a place in Las Vegas and it snowed this year too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
It even snowed in Vegas.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We're all ready for some warm weather. Bring on the warm weather.
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
I'm ready for Gulf weather. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Wait. Jared Miller.
yeah.
Oh.
What's new and good?
What's new and good? Thank you. I appreciate you
Yeah.
giving me the opportunity.
not-
So what's new and good I am extremely excited
Whoa.
through the fundraising that everybody did. I want to make this about us, right? Because I always say support our message through the fundraising that we were able to do as a community on Facebook, as a community in Southern Utah, as a community in sobriety. We today get to donate $1,000
Whoa.
to the Sobriety Foundation.
Oh my gosh.
So that's my new and good.
Guys, thank you so much.
Wow.
You are welcome.
That is amazing. That will help. That will help so much. It's so near and dear to my heart. Any donation that we get just helps out so many people. So thank you so much. I answered the phones for our foundation, and I have to turn so many people away because we just don't have the funding to give them sober living. So we can only fill about 23% of our applications that we get in. So this is really going to help out. Thank you so much, Jared.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And this came about because it's near and dear to my heart as well. I've shared that there wasn't funding available for me. It, embarrassingly, it's okay. I'm open about it now, but at like 27 or 28, I had to move back in with my mom. And I think independence is a huge part of rebuilding a person's,
Self-esteem.
self-esteem,
Yes.
independence, right? Like when you get some responsibility and you have to pay some rent, even if it's shared rent in a house, like that, you have to start depending on yourself, right? And there's growth in that. So we started the apparel company, Sober Society. We did a fundraiser on Facebook. A lot of people donated. We raised half the money through just donations alone. The other half was people that bought the T-shirts. 50% of it went. And then I have this pot of money sitting around. And is it odd or is it God? Susan Peterson reached out and said, "Hey, I appreciate your podcast." And so I started looking into her, noticed that she did Sobriety Foundation. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that is. It's just crazy how that whole thing happened. So
That is
here we are today.
Thank you.
cool.
And
Thank you.
We are happy to be
I
able
am
to
humbled
donate.
by this donation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can
Appreciate everything you
Can
do.
I just make a comment on that real quick?
Yeah.
First of all, we just love people that give back with passion, and thanks for everything you do. That's super awesome. Jared's really Jared is a really good guy, and he can sit
I
there.
can
and
tell.
He can argue all he wants, and he's very nice to say we. But the truth is, all the money raised here was on Jared. Jared put together the clothing. He made it happen. He designed it. He is in charge of all the sales, and he's just kind enough to say, "Hey, we." There's no we here. This was Jared's work. Now, there is a we in the fact that people supported, people donated, people bought clothing, and we love those people. We have some really great people that support us in the podcast, and so we love them. But man, this is a bunch of work on Jared's part. So thanks, Jared.
I appreciate that. God's been good to me, and all I can do is give back.
Yeah, you do that really well.
Thank you. I appreciate
Jared,
that.
thank you. There has to be an instigator, and it sounds to me like that you are the instigator.
This-
You're the one
you-
that puts it all together and makes it happen. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad I'm instigating some good stuff these days because if my family was on here, they might not always remember me being an.
I'm sure that's partly true.
Yeah, we all have a past.
Yeah, I wanted to point out that that's kind of the reason I kind of cling on. Did I say cling on?
Klingon?
Why-
Star Wars?
That's why I glom on to Jared, because he's a go-getter. Like, he's a guy that goes out and gets things and gets it done. And it's just not my forte at all. Like, I love being here, being part of the content, but the setup and the details and that's what Jared does well. And so I've loved being here with him because that's why I jumped into the opportunity when he said, "You want to do a podcast?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah," because I know he'll do a bunch of the work. And I love doing a podcast, but I actually don't have the time or, frankly, the energy to maybe put it together. So
My heart is full. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You guys are making me blush.
this is Jared
You
Fest.
deserve it.
Jared Fest 2021.
That's great.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
And for those people that supported, April 10th, we've rented out the aquatic center. What is the name of it? It's the same.
Sean, what's the aquatic center's name? Do you know?
Sand Hollow. Ma'am, it just came to me. The Sand Hollow Aquatic Center on Bluff.
Sean had his mouth open to say it, and then Jared jumped in with Sand Hollow.
All I had to do was ask you, Sean. As soon as I asked, it came to me. So the Aquatic Center on Sunset, it's at 6:30 to 8 o'clock. If you donated, great, come out. If you didn't and you're in recovery, we want to celebrate with you. We'd love to see you there from 6:30 to 8. Again, it's the Sand Hollow Aquatic Center. Bring your own food to barbecue. We're going to do some barbecuing. There's volleyball pits. We've rented the whole place out for 90 minutes. So let's go have some fun and celebrate recovery.
Yeah, we got some
That's
celebrities coming.
You and who?
No? No? Tom Cruise?
Yes.
yeah?
Did you not know that?
Tom Cruise.
Sure.
That's right. Mission Impossible.
Yeah. For sure. And then, what's his wife's name?
I have no
Katie
idea.
Holmes. Katie
Oh,
Cruz. Katie somebody.
Yeah, they've been like divorced for like 10 years. So yeah, that's like a
I'm aware.
that's like a
I
wow.
actually am aware
Nicole
of that.
Kidman, yeah, I think that's the current one.
Nicole Kidman is actually who I was searching for initially to talk about, but I couldn't come up with her name, so then I tried Katie. So, yeah, I was just searching. Searching my silly little brain for Hollywood stars that are going to be there for sure. They're coming.
That's right. That's right.
And if you haven't seen Tom Cruise in Katie Holmes' bikini, then you have missed a lot.
You know, I'm okay if I don't see Tom Cruise there. The people I would love to see there is people that have been guests on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
that'd be
Right?
awesome.
Like to create a
And
community.
those are celebrities right there.
In my book,
those
they
are
are.
our celebrities.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
That's great.
For sure.
let's find out what our guest knows about this thing called addiction and recovery.
Her name is Susan Peterson.
Yes.
And Susan, tell us who Susan Peterson is, first of all. Just start off with
Okay.
who are you?
Okay.
And get up on your mic a little bit for
All
me.
right.
Yes.
I'm
Love
from. Is that good right
That's
there?
way
Can you
better.
hear me good?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm a little girl from Annamonte, Utah. Actually, I'm one of 10 children. Was raised by the most amazing parents ever. My mom is still alive. She's 94. She lives in Annamonte. Hi, Mom. Love you.
Where's Antimony?
It is about a half an hour away from Bryce Canyon, Otter Creek Reservoir.
Okay.
Have you?
Sort
If
of.
you're a fisherman, then you know
Yeah.
where Otter Creek is.
Yeah, I'm not really a fisherman.
Okay. Well, it's a hot spot for fishermen. My dad was a cattle farmer. We owned the Richfield Livestock Auction right there
wow.
in Richfield for many, many years. And then my brother took it over, Mark King, who is he's our auctioneer that does our auctioning off, our live auction that we're going to be doing for our fundraiser, which is going to be at the Grand America on October 8th. I'd love for anybody to come and join us and raise funds for sober living. I was raised there, and then I married a wonderful man from Richfield, Mike, and we've been married for almost 40 years. And we had 3 beautiful children. Moved to Provo about
40 years.
40 years.
40 years.
Yeah, almost next year.
Wow.
So
yeah, me too, actually. I'm 39.
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, no, I have been
39
married-
years.
I've been married 39 years.
Awesome. We're the same.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and that's a feat in
Doesn't
itself.
happen very often, right?
No, it doesn't, and it is a feat in
But-
itself. But it's worth every minute of it. We moved to Provo. We've lived there for about 35 years. We owned and operated Peterson Oil Company.
I was going to put that together.
Yeah.
I think I had put that together in my head already.
Sure. Yeah, we owned that. He he did the wholesale part of it. We delivered to about 75 Chevrons along the Wasatch Front. He had a trucking business and an oil business. Lubrication, we did all the distribution, 55-gallon drums and the 5-gallon drums. You've seen Chevron Dello products. That's what we did. And I ran 25 Chevron stations along the Wasatch Front.
Whoa.
So, we've had a really fun career. We had a big company come in and buy us out in 2006. And then we remodeled our house, and then I got involved with Sobriety Foundation in about 2011 after we lost our son to a drug overdose. So a group of people in recovery came to me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of their nonprofit, and there was 4 people that came to me. They needed a 5th for the signer on the 5013C. And I said that I would love to do that. My son always said, I can get sober, Mom. He struggled for about 10 years with addiction before he passed away. But he said, I just don't know how to live sober. I just don't know how to do it. He'd go back to his same habits and friends and everything else, and he just didn't quite know how to do it. So that's where I wanted to put my efforts, is in raising money for sober living.
That's beautiful. And Susan, I want to kind of touch on that for a minute. And again, what was your son's name?
Carson.
So Carson he's passed. He's in a better place, right?
Yes, he is.
And so you can't really tell his story for him, but you can tell your story
Absolutely.
through as being a mom.
Yes.
Right? Being a mom, watching Carson go through the things he went through, and then ultimately losing Carson. So at what age did it become apparent that Carson started to kind of struggle?
Well, he was a big kid. He was 6'1", 250 pounds, played offense and defense in football, just a real, an overachiever, which kind of goes for people in recovery. The best people out there are in recovery. When they put their mind to do something, they do it, and they do it well. Just like we've talked about with Jared today, he's been out there helping people, and when he does something, he goes over and beyond to get it done. So that's the way he was.
I love that. He's almost like somebody that I may have played football with. I can totally see it in my mind. I can relate to this guy.
Yeah.
Like a guy of my own heart,
Yeah, he's a great person. I am so blessed to have had him for 25 years. Taught me a ton. I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't have my son. So he, about 15 years old, I could tell he just started going to Tentview High School, and his passion was football, and he decided he wasn't going to play football anymore, and just stepped off the football team and broke our hearts. We couldn't, and he just didn't have the initiative to even want to do anything anymore. He started hanging around with some friends that we just really didn't know. I mean, all of his childhood friends he wasn't hanging around with anymore. And so that was another reason that we were kind of looking into something that was going on.
Yeah, those are both huge indicators.
Mm-hmm.
And just to kind of point out real quick, the fact that he was so passionate about something and then kind of threw it away.
Yes.
And then he had a group of people that, for the most part, I'm assuming, huge assumption here, are a positive influence on him. And he stepped outside of that social circle for a different one. Another big indicator, right?
Yes.
Hey, thanks for pointing that out. I think that's something out of this story that we can pass on to our audience is sometimes parents, so you don't think your kid's going to be a drug addict.
No.
Right? That's just not who your kid is, right? And sometimes when this stuff happens to parents, they don't know what to look for. They don't know the signs that might help. So I think getting this out is going to be really helpful for people. Look for that kind of stuff. If your kid steps away from one of his passions or one of his great activities, that's a warning sign. It doesn't mean he's using drugs, but it's a warning sign.
Yes.
If he goes away from his normal social circle and starts hanging out with people that maybe the parents don't always think is the greatest influence, that's a warning sign. I mean, these are great things. So thanks for sharing that stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have 9 brothers and sisters, and they've been a huge help with our foundation. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my family. They all loved Carson. They all tried to talk to Carson, help him get back on the right path, but he just wasn't going to go there. He just wasn't going to do it. He was stubborn enough to not do anything but what he wanted to do. So anyway, that's where it started. We took his friends. There was him and 3 other friends. We took him camping one time, and it was over a 3-day weekend. And Mike and I needed to get back to work, and he said he was 16, had a truck, and his friends were with him. He says, "Mom, just let me stay one more night up on the mountain." So he stayed on the mountain one more night, unbeknownst to us. As soon as we left, we packed up our motorhome and left. He packed up the tent with his 3 friends, and they headed off to Vegas. They were 16 years old.
Pretty typical of a teen, though, right? I mean, that's not outside the norm.
I'm not sure that's a warning sign.
Oh my gosh.
That's just teen behavior.
That's a warning sign that your kid's a teenager.
Oh my goodness. So he, of course, had everything in the back of his truck and went down to Las Vegas and asked some people on the strip to go out and buy him beer or whatever else they wanted at a convenience store. And while he was in with one person buying the beer, the other person stole his truck. So now they're down in Las Vegas. He's got 3 friends with him that Mike and I were responsible for. You know, their parents let us take them because we were going to be with them. And so that's, we had a lot of problems with him. And so he just wouldn't do anything that we wanted him to do. And bless his heart, he's one stubborn soul. And so anyway, we bought them all bus passes to get back. And that's when we sent him to a wilderness program. And that was kind of the first recovery program that he was in, was the wilderness program.
Were you aware of his issues with substances at this point, or were you sending him to a wilderness program because of behavioral stuff?
It was, we knew he was using.
Okay.
You know, Carson got away with a lot because I'm this little tiny small town girl that didn't even know what marijuana smelled like.
For sure. So,
you know, he got away with a lot, and I think he was doing a lot of things. We knew he was doing a lot of things. I'd found a lot of things and substances that I knew he was using and taking. And my husband had just had back surgery, and of course he was kind of out of it with opioids and on opioids, and he could tell that my son was taking some of his pills.
Pills are turning up missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a warning sign.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's a warning sign. So anyway, after that, we got him back from the wilderness program, which was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. When they say tough love, I think it's tough love on the parents, because it's a lot tougher to send your kid away, and it was awful. And he came back, was in Timpview High School again, and went back to his same crowd, was doing the same things. So we sent him to Hazleton. And we were fortunate enough to have the funds to send him there. We wanted to send him to the very best, get him away from his friends.
Which makes a lot of sense, because we know if you take somebody from an unhealthy culture or unhealthy social circle and they get some treatment, but then they return right back to that unhealthy culture or social circle, a lot of times it doesn't do them any good. So I can totally see that, right? Like, hey, let's put them in a productive, healthy environment.
Right. And now I think there's a lot of places where parents can go and find help, and I was doing everything to enable them that there was to do. I was doing everything wrong. Actually, I didn't think that this child could do wrong, and so I was doing everything that you wasn't supposed to be doing, enabling your child. I wish that there was help that there is today. My friend Terry, she has a changes program for parents that helps the parents. And I've gone to a few of her classes, and I can just see that that would have aided me so much into not enabling my son.
Yeah, there's a lot there. In hindsight's 2020.
Yeah,
Right.
it is.
Listen, I know you've done all this work, and I know. Oh, I didn't realize there was 12 seconds left.
This has been awesome. Time has
Wow.
flown by. Join us in part 2 of episode 34 as we dig a little bit more into Susan Peterson, her story with this thing we call recovery and addiction, after this 30-second
You
sponsor
are
break.
listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, sponsored by Steps Recovery Center and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm Desmond Lomax, one of the clinical executives here at Steps Recovery, and once you become in the Steps family, you're just a part of the Steps family. A lot of us have overcome substances, overcome addiction, and now we're able to help other people. Second of all, we're also going to help you in a way where you can afford to be helped. Third of all, we're going to give you the same quality that many organizations are charging 2 to 3 times, and it's more about you than it is about our organization.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
And we're back in episode 34. We got Susan Peterson here talking to us about her experiences with this thing we call addiction and recovery, some things she's personally gone through that has molded the foundation that she's a part of today. Before we get to that, though, got a couple house chores we got to get out of the way here first. So episode 34, part 2 is brought to you by the Hilton Garden Inn. It's always sunny and bright at the Hilton Garden Inn in St. George, Utah. Susan Peterson, did you stay there last night?
I stayed there last night. It's a beautiful place. Very nice. Very accommodating.
It's amazing. If you're traveling through southern Utah, give them a Google search. Just type in Hilton Garden Inn, St. George, Utah. I promise you won't be disappointed. We also have another thing, Dr. Sellers.
We do. This is exciting.
It is.
Exciting things are happening at the podcast, so I like it. This has just been wonderful, like just little additions and little things that are growth. And so I have admired from afar a man named Jason Coombs, who has a wonderful sobriety story. And I don't personally know him, but we're Facebook friends. And, of course, you know, we run in some of the same circles. And so, anyway, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I got in touch with him just through Facebook. I saw something he had posted, and then I hit him up and said, hey, any chance you'd consider being on our podcast one of these days?
I like it.
Well, he said yes. So that's cool because to me, he's kind of a superstar. He's a little bit like today's guest. Like, our guests are superstars recently. Like, we've had some great guests. And anyway, he agreed to come on the podcast. He'll be here in a few weeks. But then apparently you received a phone call this week. You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, I get a phone call from him. Said, hey, this is Jason Coombs. And so first of all, I felt super embarrassed because you know how I am with names.
Yeah, I do.
He's like, hey, this is Jason,
bit.
right? Because he's not full himself. He's like, hey, this is Jason. And I'm like, Jason Combs? And he's like, it's pronounced Coombs. And then I felt this big. I'm just keeping it 100, keeping it real. Yeah. And I said, oh, that's amazing. You know, I actually had a copy of his book.
Can I interrupt for Jason's benefit?
Yeah.
Jason, yours is not the only name he's ever gotten wrong. Okay, this guy is not a name guy, so it's all right. It's all right. Okay, keep going.
So that was fun. And he said, hey, you know, I've been watching what you guys are doing. Talked to Dr. Sellers, looking forward to our episode coming up here in the future. And he said, I got an idea for you. He said, I've got these books and I would love to give them away to your listeners. And he said, if you're open to it, we can, you know, have your listeners do some things to qualify to get a free book. And here we are. What a great guy. Like, thank you, Jason Coombs. Not Combs, it's Coombs.
Right. So we had this. So we apparently now have the ability to give away free copies, a few copies each week, of Jason Coombs' book called Unhooked. Right. If you're watching the podcast, you can see a copy of his book on our back screen there. Unhooked How to Help an Addicted Loved One Recover by Jason Coombs, with a foreword by our very own, Utah's own, but he doesn't live here anymore, Kevin McCauley, who is pretty famous in the recovery circles.
Yes,
right?
he is.
Very
famous.
He's a name. He's quite the name. And I used to work with Kevin a little bit, and he's a really good guy. So anyway, we can give away 3 copies this week of our book.
We got 3 winners.
You put on the website ways to qualify to receive, to be possibly drawn for one of 3 winners to receive a free copy of Jason's book.
So check every Sunday before I go to bed. I'm going to post basically the qualifications for each week, so they're going to change.
Okay, good.
We got
That's
3
good. Keep people on their toes.
Yeah, we got 3
like
winners
that.
this week.
Keep the engagement. We have 3 winners this week.
Let's get them.
Now, Jared asked me to read them because he doesn't like names very
Terrible
much.
names.
But I'm going to read them for you.
Thank you.
Corey Clunch has won a
Congratulations.
copy of this week's book. Corey is one of our early and super fans for sure. We love Corey.
And he's a good friend of mine. Love you, Corey.
That's a guy. That's a fun guy for sure. He loves life. Jacqueline Lurton has won a copy of Unhooked. And finally, this one is Genia or Genia. It's spelled like the last 5 letters of Virginia. So Ginia. Genia Rose has won a copy of Unhooked. So those are our winners this week.
Way to go.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
So
Go,
we'll
guys.
be, if you want to contact us through the Facebook page or the website and get us some shipping info, we will get you a copy of your of the book.
Yeah,
So
send a direct message through the Facebook page, just a valid mailing address, and we'll get it to you. And the last 2 winners they're amazing. Great. They share each episode. They're awesome. They always send encouraging, loving messages to our guests, to us. So thank you guys.
so great.
Just tons and tons of gratitude.
We appreciate the support, and we're glad we were able to give you a free copy of his book. So, and he'll be on the podcast in a few weeks. Okay, so let's get back to. I want to get back to this story just a little bit. When we left off, you were beating yourself up for not knowing exactly what to do perfectly. You're like every
Typical parent.
You're
huh?
like every parent on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
stuff does not come with a manual. Parenting itself doesn't come with a manual, but how to parent a kid who's addicted to stuff, there's no manual for that. Nobody knows how to do that, right?
No. They
So,
don't.
and I was starting to say, I think you've probably done enough work, and you probably know this, but you probably didn't really do anything wrong. Like you think you did, but you didn't. You did what you thought was best.
Exactly.
Like, was it perfect? No, but that's because there is no manual for perfect.
Well, and that's what Al-Anon teaches, the 3 C's, right? You didn't cause it. You can't cure it. Oh, boy. I
Yep,
just had a brain
you're in
fart.
trouble now.
You didn't cause it. You can't cure it. And somebody direct message us the last.
Create it? Maybe. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, you didn't create it. You didn't cause it. Cure it. It's the 3 C's of Al-Anon, and I just blanked. Thank you.
Nice. I'm not going to bail you out.
Okay, it's totally fine.
All right. So anyway, so let's get back to that. So I do want to point out for people that aren't local Utah County people, Timpview is a football program. Timpview is one of the great football programs in this state.
Yeah. In fact, it is probably, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's better programs out there now, too. I think
some great
Timpanogos has a
programs.
great one now. But yes, and also, as of today, Carson graduated in 2004. He has lost, as far as I know, there might be more, 37 kids in his graduating class to substance abuse, or misuse. I know I'm saying I need to correct myself.
Yeah, we're not totally politically correct on this podcast every single minute. but
Yes,
So Carson what year was he born?
he was born in '85.
So I was born in 86.
Okay.
And our generation was the Oxycontin generation.
Yes.
And it hit a lot of us and hit us hard.
Yeah. Especially in Utah County. It just seems like Springville and Spanish Fork, that area, it was just running rampant there. And he hung out with a lot of kids from Springville.
Well,
So-
Springville High had a reputation at that point of being
They did.
an opiate Like a lot of opiates at Springville High.
Yes.
That for sure was a reputation. I'm not trying to disparage Springville High in any way, but it had the reputation of there was a fair amount of opioid medications running around Springville High for sure.
Yes, there definitely was. So anyway, he went to the U of U, done very well there, joined a fraternity, and that didn't help as much. But he was the life of the party. Everybody loved Carson. He was a comedian. Everybody wanted to be around him. He was just so much fun. So anyway, fraternity boys loved the heck out of him because he would dare do anything. But anyway, he's a crazy guy. So he decided that he was going to clean himself up, and he was going to open some businesses, and he did. He opened a couple of businesses, and he also was running one of our stations in Midvale. All of our stations are extra March chevrons. And so anyway, he was doing awesome, doing very well, renovated a place at the Gateway, beautiful place. Had a lot of his friends come and help him get it renovated, and it was absolutely beautiful. And so he called me one night, and he was doing pretty good. I'd been pretty proud of him. He had been really cleaning himself up, and he said, "Mom, I'm at the hospital. I'm here for an emergency appendectomy. Can you come up and be with me?" And I said, "Absolutely." So he called me at about 11 o'clock, and I was up there by 1, and stayed with them. And the minute I walked into the room, I could tell that he was completely high on morphine. And I thought, oh, here we go again. We'd had these up and downs for the past 10 years, and I just, I knew he was in a ton of pain, and so I thought, well, hopefully he can just get through this one. Within a month of him having his surgery, he overdosed, and his girlfriend found him in the nick of time. They brought him back. He went into cardiac arrest. They brought him back. He had severe brain damage. He lived for 10 and a half months in and out of a coma. My 250-pound, good-looking boy, when he passed away after 10 and a half months, weighed 120 pounds. And so I saw him literally dying every day right before my eyes. And it was not a pretty picture. Felt so bad for him. He went through literal hell in that bed. He bit off his bottom lip. He was so frustrated. He couldn't move. He had a feeding tube. He had a trach. It was just not a pretty picture. Ugh. So every time I think of all the work that we're going through this foundation, and I'm out soliciting funds and trying to get money for our foundation, I remember him lying in that bed for 10 and a half months. And I don't want another person to have to go through that. And I don't want any family members to have to see their loved ones suffering like that. So that's what keeps me going with our Sobriety Foundation.
Oh, man, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I love this. Like, I love the raw and real stuff that really happens with addiction, right? Because when people first start using drugs typically, or alcohol, typically it's this, oh, try this, it'll make you feel great. It's all good, and this is what happens when people use drugs.
Yes.
Like, this is really the stuff that happens when people use drugs. There might be a few minutes, days, months, maybe even years where it's fun and it makes you feel decent, but it ends like this.
Yes.
Every time.
Not only that, but I think of like Carson. Big, strong,
right.
go-getter.
Guy with full of life, right?
Yeah, he's so full of life. And I could just imagine myself being on that bed and the frustration and the things that he had to go through. And, it's always a tearjerker, and it's always, man, just heartfelt when you hear a story like this. I just want to point out that today Carson's free, right? Like he's been able to transcend this physical body and be able to get back to the things that he loves to do. I'm sure he inspires his mom today, for sure.
The minute he passed, they called me one night. I just left him. He was in a wheelchair, and so I would use, Dr. Sellers, you probably know it's the crane thing that you lift him out of bed and you can put him in a wheelchair.
Right.
And I took him out on walks every day in that so he could get outside. And I told him, I said, it's going to be a beautiful day. He died in January, and you know how the winters are in Utah County. They're pretty bad. And so I told him, I said, it's going to be a great day tomorrow. We're going to come in and we're going to get you out. And he had just had a bout with, laying flat in a bed all the time. Pneumonia is
yeah, sure.
He had it like every other month, even though you were turning him and moving him around and everything else. So that's that. They called me that night. They'd been working on him for about an hour. They found him unconscious in his bed. When they took him to Utah Valley Hospital, I rushed down there. They were still working on him, and he was gone. I could tell he was gone, and I didn't want him to suffer anymore. And so I told him to quit reviving him. And I could just feel the peace in the room when he left. It was like, Mom, thanks.
Wow.
You know, I'm out of this body that wasn't doing me any good. And yes, we felt a lot of peace. We know, Carson had a tattoo and it said, "Life's short, play it cool." Now, how ironic is that? Now my husband has the same tattoo on his leg, just where Carson had it. So, he told his friends his whole life that he didn't feel like he was going to live a long life. And so anyway, that's what happened. He died in 2011. That's right when the doctor that was and his wife that was in recovery, they came to me and they asked me to, like I said, be one of the signers on the 501(c)(3), and I said, absolutely. That's when it started. We got our nonprofit license. It took us about a year. So officially, we've been in existence since 2012.
I have a bunch of questions.
Okay.
And some of them relate to Carson and some of them relate to the foundation. But who's your other four people? Who was the original other four?
The other four people was
unless you don't want to name them.
Matt and Jordan Anderson.
Okay, this is what I thought.
Perfect people. Can you remember the foundation?
Oh, yeah.
That they helped start?
Yeah.
It was originally
used to be called Soul, right?
Uh-huh.
Right.
And we changed it to Sobriety Foundation because we felt like it was easier to search.
Sure.
If anybody was looking for our help. And also SOL, that was our acronym, which means
SOL, shit out of luck. Sorry, did I say shit on the radio?
Yes. So we just decided that we just better change our name.
Sean's writing down a time that he has to edit. Yep. Sorry, Sean.
So anyway, that's why we decided to change it to Dr. Sellers was because of the acronym. So anyway, that's Matt and Kate Wright. Do you know Matt and Kate Wright?
Sure.
Yes.
I don't know Matt, but I know Kate.
Yeah. Matt was our advocate. He is phenomenal, an amazing guy, has the best heart of about anybody I know. And he was our first advocate that helped us select the applicants for our Sobriety Foundation.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if that was the foundation.
That's the foundation.
There's a bunch of ties here because I knew of Peterson Oil for sure.
Yes.
Do you know all your station owners? Did Tommy Bankhead ever own a Chevron that was affiliated with you guys?
I ran a station for him. Yeah, L&T Construction.
Yeah.
I ran it. He built a couple of stations for us.
Yeah, I know the one just south of Utah Valley Hospital. I think he used to own. Is that true?
That's on 5th West.
Yeah.
That's the one I ran. That's the one he owned. He built that. He also built the one up on Center Street and 8 North in Orem.
Right.
Just that beautiful Chevron right there.
Right.
Bankheads are great people.
Yeah, so those are my old neighbors. Before they moved to Mapleton, they lived in Orem, and that's where I used to live. So I know all those guys. But so I'm having fun with the connection. Sorry. Okay. We should get back to sobriety.
A whole lot of name dropping going down right now. So I have a question for you. So I too have lost somebody.
Okay.
I lost my brother,
Sorry.
closest in.
So sorry to hear that, Jared.
That's okay. He's still with me,
By the
and
way.
that goes into the question.
Yes.
Go ahead. But wait, before you say it, did you know I've lost a brother too?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. We
To
both.
addiction,
Yeah.
Dr.
Yes.
Sellers?
Yeah.
We
Okay.
both have experienced that.
Yeah.
So, you said when he left the room, you felt peace.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe I'm going out on a whim here, and tell me if I'm wrong, but are there times today that you still feel Carson close?
Oh my gosh, right now. I know he's in this room. Oh yes. He like I said, every time I feel like the frustration, because the worst thing in the world is to ask people for money. I don't know if you guys have had to do that, but I hate going to somebody for money and asking for money. But I have such a passion for this cause, and I just, sober living is not paid by insurance. And so to get the long-term recovery, I really feel it. Sober living is a huge part of it.
No question.
That's where you connect with friends. That's where you can get a job.
That's where you're back out living life a little bit.
Exactly. You're out and you're living sober.
So important in continuation of care. For
Yes,
sure.
absolutely. So, I just really feel, I feel him constantly, Jared. I really do. He's a huge part of our foundation.
Was there? I don't know if there's. I don't know if this is even important or relevant, but where was he when you said he got pneumonia? Where was this at? And,
This was when he was laying in a coma.
okay. And where was he?
He was in, oh
Like
my
a
gosh.
long-term care facility?
Yeah,
Don't worry about it if
he
you don't
was.
remember the name.
He was in a long-term facility just right across from the hospital. He went first when his accident happened. He went to LDS hospital.
Okay.
Then he went to another place in Provo for a while, and I just the nurses at LDS hospital just said the worst thing is brain injury, and I just mother's love. No, he's going to come through. He's going to come out of this. He's just such a strong kid. He can live through it. And then he lived in the care facility for about 8 months.
So was he somehow using in that care facility?
No,
Like, what did he die from?
it was pneumonia. That was
Okay.
what
He
was
didn't
on
die
his
from
death
an
certificate.
overdose. He died from complications from pneumonia.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
All
in
right.
his system, when he went to LDS hospital, there was cocaine and heroin.
Okay.
So he overdosed, put him in the hospital. In the
Right.
hospital, he contracted pneumonia and ended up losing his life due to pneumonia.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what's
Which-
on the death certificate.
Which is not uncommon for
Right.
people that are paralyzed or that can't
Yes.
move themselves very well. That right, they lay there, and pneumonia is not an uncommon complication.
yeah,
for
pneumonia
Sure.
is.
So
And I also, just because we're running out of time here, I think it's important to remember Carson for the beautiful parts of his life, right?
Oh,
Like,
yes.
It sounds like he's an amazing guy. I wish I would have known him because it sounds like we've been good friends, like
Sure.
You would have been
football
really good
player,
friends.
Right, you
like
got-
Yeah.
Daredevil.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I love
right,
this story.
that sounds like your story a little bit for sure.
In fact, there's
Yeah.
about as I know of 5 friends that have gotten tattoos just from Carson.
Oh, wow.
They want him to live on too. So
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
bet.
he's got great friends.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So let's talk about the Sobriety Foundation for a sec because we got
Yeah.
about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
So I know in the past you guys have been able to help a lot of people with getting into sober living and giving them a chance to do this thing, right? Continuation of care.
Yes.
How did COVID have a huge detriment? Because you shared you're only now able to help around 23%. How do our listeners help get that number back up?
Well, let me tell you what happened. We are only able to fill about 23% of our applications. And Jared, that's been about the whole time. There's such a need for sober living. And when you get to sober living, you have exhausted every place that you can get funds from. I mean, family, friends,
The courts,
exactly.
everything.
You've ruined almost every relationship. You've got to start building those relationships back up. And so they don't have nowhere to turn. And so this is, it's 23%. It's been like that the whole time. That's even,
you guys are getting flooded with applications.
We are, and we just, and we allocate so many funds a month to sober living, and that's all that we can do.
And just so that we let our listeners know, we're not enabling them, right? Like, what is the process that they have to go through? What are the terms? What are, right? So that we're not just painting, I don't want to paint the picture that we're just paying for their entire time in sober living. That's not what we're doing.
And this is, trial and error. This is how we felt is the very best way that we can pay for them sober living without enabling them and helping them get back on their feet again. So what they do is they go on sobrietyfoundation.org and they fill out an application. And I have an advocate, and between her and I, we talk, and mainly she's the go-to. She is amazing. She is trained in this field. She knows the people that is going to make our money work. She's given it to people that really want to change. They really want to make that change in their life, and they want to get clean and sober. And so she has been around addiction her whole life, and so she can read through the crap that sometimes is dealt out by people, and she helps me decide who can go to our sober living program. But anyway, so what they need to do is just go on sobrietyfoundation.org, fill out an application. We choose the sober living home along the Wasatch Front and in all over Utah. And our time is just about up. But anyway, we make your money work.
Right. And it pays for their first month.
For
second month in some
2 months. 2 months. 2 months of sober living.
Sobrietyfoundation.org.
You can also go there
Peterson.
to donate. Yeah,
yes.
So go to sobrietyfoundation.org to fill out an application, also to be able to donate. Thank you guys so much for joining us on episode 34.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from a podcast studio.